Today's episode of the Ryen Russillo Show on the Ringer Podcast Network is brought to you by State Farm. I'm excited about this. We got Craig Kilborn in studio. Just like basketball, the game of life is unpredictable. Talk to a State Farm agent and get a teammate who can help you navigate the unexpected. Just like Craig Kilborn's career at Montana State, Bozeman shows up, tall, stretch four, little handle, incredible vision by all accounts. And next thing you know, you're just not getting enough touches, It's not getting enough touches, and it's time to go be a huge TV star. Get a teammate who can help you navigate the unexpected. Talk to a State Farm agent today. All right, let's do this. 90 minutes with Craig Kilborn. I was once asked if I'd ever seen the movie Black Stallion, and I thought, see it, I own it. They said the most difficult guest can be the untamable thoroughbred. They said, have you ever met Craig Kilborn? And I said, I'm not ready for that challenge. That was years ago when I was told that story. And now I feel like today, with Craig sitting in front of me, I am ready to tame that horse.
That was beautiful. That was a beautiful introduction. I want to tell you why I'm so excited to be here. In the past, I was known as the natural host when I did late night. Once they said that, I left. That's all I needed to hear. I'm kidding. But I did. It was very nice of. It's very nice of Mr. Simmons. You guys are, I think, co-owners of the Ringer. You're the COO.
He's got a little bit higher title than I do. Yeah.
And congratulations on the new Spotify deal that none of us understand, but we're excited about it. But I was going to say, I did his podcast a few years ago, and I was awful because I was hyper. And I listen, I go, oh, easy fix if I did it tomorrow. So today is tomorrow. I'll just listen to you, respond. I won't segment produce.
Do you want to segment produce?
Well,
are you a creative type? Like on-air guys are either inspired by those around them and they follow a lead, and then there's others that are control freaks. I was a control freak.
I was told I was a control person. There's no freak over here.
Yeah, we don't like to use those words anymore.
I used to do a joke that the only reason I want to be in control is because when wrong decisions are being made, I want to be the one making them. But no, I thought if I had 4 good stories and we don't get to them, what a waste. But podcasts are loose and there will be interesting things said, but still there might be some stories left out. But that's fine.
You have 4, so you're telling me you have 4 stories you would like to do today?
No. That's not true. In late night, we would have at least 4 good areas to talk to and some to talk about topics. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it was simply like with Mimi Rogers, she loves mustard and puts it on everything. That's not a story. So we would just talk about that,
Yeah, I've always wondered because I would. And, I'm getting a little up there where you go, okay, I never ended up on any of the shows. Like when Van Pelt went on Letterman, when he and I were co-hosting together, he should have gone on Letterman. He even though I was part of the radio show, that's a solo deal. But you start going, hey, maybe year 10, can I get on Kimmel? Can I get maybe Carson?
Right.
Right. But I don't know that I'd be good. I don't know that I'd be good as a guest. How can you figure out how to pull things? Because I imagine you have these segment producers that would say to the person out back, be like, hey, do you have anything? Be like, oh, let me tell the Cuba story.
Well, when I was on Letterman a few times, I was told he loves stories. So I had some really good stories that I worked on that were true, and then you embellish them. And he loves that. But I was also told sometimes that if you're a really good host, you're not a good guest because you're not in control, which goes back to what you said. But the point is, it was I felt like I may have traumatized a few listeners a few years ago because I was hyper, not good. But for me, it was an easy fix. And I'm going to do 2 compliments to Bill, your co-owner. Letterman did the Oscars and they never let him come back and fix it. But Bill has invited me back to remedy.
This is really, I don't want to say it's
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, but the amount of prep, that's why you're so good, that you would go back and listen to yourself with Bill. And
I didn't listen to it. I listened to 5 seconds, said I'm hyper, I know how to fix it.
Done.
Yeah.
Can I start here?
Yeah. I had one other joke about Bill. I just wanted to tell you. Go ahead.
I'm going to get to it.
Okay.
I promise. When you watch the Timberwolves, that's your team.
Yeah.
And you see a Karl Anthony Towns. How much of a younger Craig Kilborn do you see in Karl Anthony Towns? And I'm not even talking game, perhaps more personality.
I don't know. I don't know. I loved it when Calipari said Karl comes from a different childhood background than Jimmy Butler. Because, Jimmy Butler was thrown out of the house.
Yeah, he was sleeping in his car for a little while.
He was thrown out of the house and was adopted. And then Karl had these loving parents, and, it's like
Cal didn't want the loving parents kid on the team.
I mean, anyways, I think it's, if my dad had hit me with a switch like Adrian Peterson's dad did, I would have played a couple years in the NBA. And I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Sort of.
Kind of.
Do you remember, what were the recruitment stories like to Montana State?
First, when you get on a list, when you're a good high school player. So I was on a list of good high school players.
And how good were you in high school? I mean, to play.
I mean,
how many did you get? Do you know how much? Like, what'd you score a game?
Well, I was somewhat of an early bloomer where I started playing basketball in second grade, and I was watching they had basketball in fifth grade. They didn't have basketball in second grade, but I'd go to watch my brothers practice in fifth grade. He was 3 years ahead of me. And I was dribbling on the sideline watching practice, and the coach said, "Why are you dribbling with your left hand? Are you left-handed?" And I said, "No, I can already dribble with my right. I'm just working on my left hand." That was in second grade. I had read Houdini of the Hardwood, Foul, the Connie Hawkins story, and Zeke from Cabin Creek, the Jerry West story. And I think they didn't bring up freshmen on varsity back in Hastings, Minnesota. And some people said I could play as a freshman because I worked at the game in the off season. These other guys went fishing and camping.
Not you.
So I started as a sophomore and led the team in scoring and rebounding 16 and 11 as a sophomore. Then I was 19 points a game as a junior, and then 26 as a senior. Who cares?
You barely remember.
I mean, no two shots were the same. No, I'm kidding. It was, I could shoot and pass.
So Montana State, how does that happen?
Oh, I was going to say the first letter I got was a junior from Digger Phelps at Notre Dame. You get on a list and they just they have to send out these letters to let them know they're form letters, but they need to let you know that we're thinking about you in case you have an amazing senior year. We sent you a letter when you were a junior. And then I was recruited by the people that were in my living room were Norm Stewart from Missouri.
But you and Derek Chivas had kind of like you duplicate each other, so it makes sense.
If I knew I was going to ride the bench, I would have gone to Missouri. No, but Jim Dutcher from University of Minnesota, Mike Montgomery from Montana,
who ended up at Stanford.
Yep, and then there was somebody else that was interesting. And then I went to Montana State. I think there was another coach that came to the house. But anyways, it was a fun time.
I spent a little time in Montana, but I haven't made it over to Helena. Bozeman, Big Sky, Gallatin River guy.
I went to school in Bozeman. That's where Montana State is.
Oh, Montana State is in Bozeman.
Yeah,
Helena.
Yeah.
Helena is what? Montana?
I think Helena is the capital.
Helena's the capital. 1 million. Oh, so wait a minute. So Bozeman, I went out one night in Bozeman.
Rock and R Bar?
That little strip.
Yeah.
Is right out. Like guys were cruising all night.
Yeah.
You just go up and down that little strip all night in your truck.
Yeah.
And then I went to, I think, a VFW and played Keno by myself. Had a couple pops.
Do you drink?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
You seem curious.
No, I was just kidding.
Yeah, but I knew that was a night where I was like, go home.
Yeah.
Nothing This is a weird solo night in Bozeman.
For all the young people out there who
Yeah.
drink, you got to have an out. You got to have a meal and an out. You got to eat and get to bed. Don't, as I like to say, don't chase the night.
Chase the night.
Don't chase the night.
When you're single, though, people have been known to chase the night. When I had first watched you at ESPN, and I know like some of these things can be weird, and it's like, hey man, you were really awesome. There was something immediately about you. You were funny, but you were you'd go like, hey, that guy belongs on television. Like that guy works. And I would ask about you. I mean, I'd gotten there years after you had left. I think you had left, 96, 97?
I was there 3 years. It would have been 96.
Okay, so 96. And a guy that we both know, because I got to know him because of Boston, Billy Fairweather.
Yep.
Old producer.
Yeah.
I'd be like, hey, what was Kilborn like? And he'd be like, Kilborn. As soon as he got there, he's like, Billy, we got to get to LA. We got to get to LA. You seem like one of the rare guys that is great as, and to be a SportsCenter anchor back then was a huge, not to say it's not a big deal now, but that was like something different back then. It was like this almost iconic thing. You were my favorite one. And there was always kind of this thing. It's like, are you funny and cool naturally? Or are you trying to do the, hey, I'm now on SportsCenter, so now I'm going to be funny and cool and all this stuff. And you were it never felt like you were oppressing, but it seemed like you weren't satisfied. But it was a very temporary stop for you for other people where it would have felt like, hey, I made it.
I almost didn't do ESPN because I didn't want a sportscast. I just gave Ryen an exclusive. I don't know if we have to pause for that. Mark that down. But I had great respect. Like, I think Bob Costas as a broadcaster is as talented as they get.
Sure.
And I have an acquaintance who's a sportscaster, and he's kind of a hothead and kind of boring to me. I will never reveal the person's name. You don't know him. I'm going to say you don't know him because maybe you do. And he would say, it's always about you, Craig. And I'd say it's not about me when I'm around Bob Costas and Ernie Johnson. I love those guys. But I didn't want to, I have great admiration for broadcasters in general and sportscasters, but I had this comedic bent. And when I was, my whole life, my dad was very funny. My childhood was basketball and comedy, whether it was Fernwood Tonight, Monty Python. Later, it was discovering Bill Murray on Saturday Night Live, all that stuff. Honeymooners, when I was really young, I watched the Honeymooners. And when I was in college, I said, well, there's only one Johnny Carson, and you can't do a talk show. So you got to probably do, and I like Cheers in college. So you probably maybe do a sitcom. So I always had that kind of interest. But then it all kind of worked out in a nice way for me. From my perspective, I got to do late night, got it out of my system, got out, love it.
When you're talking, like I always have this thought about agents is that we're both kind of right. Where agents,
say agents,
right?
Yeah.
Where all of us that are on air,
right,
all think our agents aren't doing enough. They're like, how do they not see my brilliance? Like,
right.
Are you going to fight for me? And I believe agents could do a better job. But then I think the agents look at us collectively, at least most of us, and they go, this fucking guy's delusional.
Right.
He thinks he's going to be doing all these things.
Right.
What kinds of conversations were you having with your agents while you're at ESPN and them coming back and saying, hey, look, Comedy Central is looking at doing this daily show and they may want to build it around you?
Right. Well, you brought up agents, and as a level-headed person would say, some agents are wonderful, and then some are not as good, and all that kind of stuff. And I recommend reading for everybody is one of the greatest things ever written by David Simon. You ever seen this thing? He wrote it for Deadline about packaging fees. Or not? Did you ever?
Yeah. No, when the writers, Craig, I'm a writer. So,
right. Did you read the David Simon piece?
I read enough of it to know that once that had happened, it was like, okay.
It was entertaining.
Yeah.
And I'm actually,
and for those who don't know, David Simon, creator of The Wire.
Right. And this is where I'm a bit of a contradiction, or whatever, but I'm not a fan of the F-bomb. But when he used it, he would follow it with bonnet, F-bonnet, and it was humorous when he did it. Anyways, so to answer your question, I had a I'll kind of give you a truncated. I thought I would be able to do a late night talk show, and I was fortunate to do it. And I promised myself if I did it, that I would never complain about anything. And the where I'm enigmatic is I enjoyed doing it. On CBS was my favorite. That was easily my favorite show because it was a traditional late night show. But leaving it was even more satisfying because I'm less accepting of dysfunction, and I'm not addicted to the stage. So I like being creative. So the Instagram is really enjoyable for me. I enjoy doing that. Now I know that people miss me, and I apologize. There's not much I want to do. And I apologize that I may just do Instagram and write a book one day, but I apologize, but I love it.
Have you thought about book titles?
Above the Fray, Living Above the Fray. And I think I had another line under there, but could be a manual, a guide to living above the fray, leadership 101.
I read your interview with yourself in the LA Times.
Oh,
and
sorry. What was that sound I just made? I enjoyed writing that.
I know you have a great answer because it was a great question. Where you said, and if I had more time to speak to the young people, I would say this, but I don't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I feel like this book would be sort of making up for all the times that you haven't been able to show up and guide anybody.
Right.
The leadership part.
I'm not motivated right now to write the book, but
it's hard.
I would think, but also I have a friend who was in the newspaper business. He lives in Los Angeles, and he works. I'm going to protect him a little bit, but he's a real nice guy, and he wants to write a book. But he says the things I want to say, I wouldn't be able to work again. And they're nothing terrible. It's just the PC culture. So he's just things he wants to say. You can get in trouble by saying level-headed things, as you may or may not know.
Yeah, I've outlined a book. I have a couple working titles.
For yours?
Yeah.
Would you like me to ask you those?
Yeah.
Okay. So have you written any books yet?
Start to finish? No.
Okay. You've read books start to finish?
I have. Yeah.
Paul Tagliabue said he would read the beginning and then read the end because he was so busy. Did you ever hear that?
The beginning, then the end? And then that's it?
Yeah, he wouldn't have time to read the whole book, which I thought was interesting.
I think that's actually terrible. Like the beginnings of books are usually some of the best stuff to get you to keep reading it.
Right.
But I find a lot of endings fall flat.
Okay. We're not talking about Stripes, the movie. We're talking about books. Okay, what are your titles what are the ones you're...
Two. I have two, but
okay.
I can't tell. But I'm glad you're here. I didn't.
You can't tell me?
No, I'm going to tell you now,
okay.
and no one else knows this.
Okay.
Okay. So
I'm pulling it out of you.
The first title is "Yeah, It's Me," and then the other title is I haven't decided yet. I could go with this one. Yes, it is me.
God, work on a third. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, it's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's me.
That's more casual.
Comma,
that's like we're buddies.
Yeah, it's me. Hey, it's me. Okay. Is this a guide to like eating at El Tarasco? Is that what it's called? What's the place called in Manhattan Beach?
Yeah, El Tarasco. Yeah. There's a few places down there. We got to get you down there. I'm not 100% sure what the book is yet.
Okay.
Because things change.
Okay.
But there's
no rush, is there?
Not on this. I have other projects.
Okay.
I'm loosely attached.
Okay.
But I would say...
Why is my man on the board here giggling? Or
Nephew Kyle, that's his role. I have my own little laugh track to the entire pod. Okay. But sometimes I'll be doing like really serious stuff. Right. I'll be like, well, one of the biggest problems with prosecution day 6 of the OJ case. And then Kyle will just start cracking up. And every now and then it's not timed out perfect, but he makes you...
clamps on it now.
He makes you feel better about yourself.
When you do your podcasts, which are very popular, correct?
Yeah, we're doing all right.
Do you do them normally here or down in Manhattan Beach at your house?
Manhattan Beach.
Oh, really?
Almost. I'll do usually one or two.
Would it have been better if I had come to Manhattan Beach? Would the interview have been better? It's going swimmingly, but would it have been better if I was down there?
I don't know. I feel pretty good so far.
So do I.
But I would probably say, if we were in Manhattan Beach, I'd be like, let me show you around a little bit. We could see Cowherd. I actually have Cowherd stuff in my notes.
What?
Can I ask you about? Because I see this look in your face.
No,
I'm trying to read you.
Well, I was saying
You're a tough read.
When I did something, I did a visual when I said it's going great or something. I put my hands up, and Kyle laughed because of my body language, and they're not getting the body language on this.
No, they're not. They're not.
Can I say something nice about Colin Cowherd?
Yeah.
So I don't listen to sports radio like I should, or I should not that I should. When I was a kid, I listened to Pete Franklin. We used to get 3WE Pete Franklin up in Minnesota. And for those of you who don't know Pete Franklin, he was a very colorful sports guy. And he would say, he had a kind of a gravelly voice. And some kid, they would call in and say, how come Bobby Bingo Smith isn't playing for the Cavs as much as he is? And then Pete Franklin would go, how old are you? 12? Go pick your face. And he'd hang up on him because he didn't want young kids calling in.
Imus did that once. I remember a kid called in and he was like, do you have braces? And the kid was like, yes. And he's like, good. So
I don't listen to sports radio. But I can tell when people are good. It's just like a couple of my writers write for Family Guy. And years ago, they said, would you please watch an episode? And I watched one episode. I said, wow, this is funny. This is brilliant.
It is.
A lot of jokes. But I only watched one episode. There are a lot of things I haven't seen. I don't want to upset people and say I've never seen an episode of Friends because that would upset people.
Is that true?
Yes, I've never seen an episode of Friends.
Just no desire.
No desire. I watched Frasier ad nauseum. So I heard you years ago doing radio on ESPN. And I said, oh, this guy's good. I like this guy. You seem level-headed, good voice, sense of humor. You seem earnest and honest. And you know what I'm saying? Like you actually care about your career. Anyway, so Colin Cowherd.
We were trying to get you on years ago when I was still doing radio.
I emailed you back and said, I'm a fan. You go, you're not a fan.
Well, because, and I'm glad we're doing this because I don't want there to be any tension, but you're so used to when you reach out in radio shows, like the people, the handlers of the person will say like, oh, it's a no, but like our favorite one with Van Pelt and I was like, Denzel's a huge fan.
Right. And
then I ran into him and he was like, that security guy was like, what are you doing?
Right. That's funny.
Get away from this guy.
That's hilarious.
Which actually is fair. Like that was me being younger and thinking like, oh, we did 7 minutes together. Like, of course I'm going to hang out with Denzel. So when your handlers were like, no, but tell Ryan that Craig's a big fan. I was like, oh, but so we made a joke about it. Like, add him to the list of all the guys. But then you did reach out and you said, hey, I am a fan.
Yeah.
And it meant a lot.
Yeah.
It was big for me. It was a big day for me.
So Colin Cowherd, I've heard him. Now, I really enjoy Rich Eisen because Rich has a sense of humor.
And you guys know each other too. And
well, we didn't really. We knew it. We didn't really know each other.
So has he played that up more?
No.
You were great with him and he got some really cool timeline stuff out of you.
Yeah, we didn't. He was there when I was there, but they were, I can't remember if they were doing ESPN2 or what. I don't remember, but I knew I said hi to him. I talked to him a few times at ESPN. I remember saying a few things to him, but I had already kind of checked out.
Yeah, on the show that you did with him, you had mentioned that you took him out for chicken.
Yeah.
And then asked him, but you were very honest in the interview. And that
I don't remember. There are a lot of things I don't remember.
Yeah.
You have people tell me jokes, funny stuff, and I said I don't remember saying that. But I was going to say, Colin Cowherd to me is very talented because he can, this is how I like to describe it. He will say things. I don't like LeBron's game. I don't like LeBron's jump shot. I'm just being honest. And he'll have dramatic pauses. And the pauses to me, he uses dramatic pauses, which is, and I've enjoyed the term ever since my dad would talk about Richard Burton, the actor, or Orson Welles. Dramatic pauses are fun. So Colin Cowherd has a gift where he doesn't need a sidekick and he doesn't need anybody. And that's a gift. Now I think he admits to not having a sense of humor. Is that correct? He admits that, right?
I don't know that he would say that.
Okay. I thought he said that once. Okay.
Did he?
Mm-hmm.
Because there is really nothing worse than somebody who like just isn't, it's not being funny. It's not laughing at anything else.
Yeah. The fact that he's creative to come up with the analogies. The thing that I think is hard is he's talented, but because he's opinionated, then he offends people. I like offending people by being smug and standoffish. He offends people by saying, this guy's no good. This ball player's no good.
Yeah.
But he has to take, and I never enjoyed that as a sportscaster. When I was on local TV in Monterey, they said, okay, you have to, It's the Bay Bridge series, the A's and the Giants. You have to pick someone to win this. I said, no, I don't want to pick because I don't want to be wrong. I'm not into being wrong. And they said, no, it doesn't matter. The audience wants to hear Craig's picks. It's fun,
But you didn't.
I ended up picking. I said, okay. I probably couched it. I'm picking the A's, but man, the Giants. My dad loved Willie Mays, so it's a win-win either way. I don't know what I said.
Too close to call. Cowherd. This is why we even brought it up, because he was like, hey, he goes, he didn't have any money when he first started working at ESPN. I was like, where are you getting these details? He goes, he had the same brown jacket. He's like, he was making like $27,000 a year. And I go, I don't think he was making $27,000 a year his first year at ESPN. So I pushed back a little bit, but you lit up about that brown jacket just now.
Well, I don't know. It went to something else, which is, he's talking about on air, right?
Yeah. Okay. He said your wardrobe was limited. I
do the tangents where I have 5 comments here, but
go.
When I was in Montana State, I wrote a thumbnail sketch on the ball play, my teammates. And one guy was Phil Lair, who was injured out for the year. And I said, sitting on the bench will tax his wardrobe, because Phil was not a fashion plate. Now, what's interesting—
That's a great line for a college kid.
Yes. What's interesting is I have a couple thoughts. I thought initially Colin Cowherd was saying I wore the same outfit to work every day. And on that, there was a time in local TV in Monterey and also at the Daily Show, sometimes I would just wear sweats and a shirt because I wanted to work. And it goes back to the movie The Fly, Brundle Fly, with Jeff Goldblum. And he's a scientist, and he'd open the closet every morning and said, I'm not spending any creativity on my outfit. He'd have 10 khakis and 10 blue shirts. He'd wear the same thing every day. So that creative, he doesn't have to say, what should I wear today? Don't waste any thought on that. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying in the movie?
Oh, I know what you're talking about, because the movie, and then Sam Hinkie said he does the same exact thing, identical blazers, because I don't want to use, I'm gonna get out of the way.
So there were times where I'm really actually into clothes, but I would basically in my life sometimes not waste energy on it. So when I would walk into work, I might wear the same sweats and then a different shirt and just hunker down. As far as on camera, I think it was an olive jacket that looked brown on the air. No, but I took it.
Olive will do that.
No, it's a great jacket I had from local TV in Monterey, but they didn't provide us with clothes until maybe my second year. I was doing makeup myself the whole time.
At ESPN?
At ESPN. They finally got makeup, but not for the 2 a.m. show. So if I looked like a bronze god, it was because I was caking on too much makeup and doing it quickly. But yeah, he's probably 100% right. They didn't provide. Did they provide you with wardrobe?
Not me. I mean, look, I was on radio, but yeah, I mean, the SportsCenter people had wardrobe, but seriously, if you get $5,000 as a male, and I mean, we know how suits get. I mean, that might not even be a blazer for you today.
Right. The
90s, maybe a nice Joseph Abboud, maybe something from Marshalls that's been maybe a Ralph Lauren, but certainly not Purple Label.
Right. And I call her my wife, but my longtime girlfriend is both an interior designer and she does costuming. She does costumes. She makes
for TV and film.
Yeah. For mostly commercials, but she also Rod Stewart and his band. She does that. Yeah, she's great. But those
are rowdy guys, huh?
Watch, back off. But
I don't know that I could ever go out with my dad drinking and start fighting people, but I kind of respect it.
Well, actually, Rod's a sweet man. He's a sweet man.
I wasn't assuming anything.
I don't want to say anything about the son, but Rod's a sweet man. But once I'm a tall guy, and we have crooked shoulders and stuff, and I can still dunk. But what happened is, she gets tailored suits and shirts for me. And once you have been exposed to that, it's a joy. You can't,
And most of us aren't built like mannequins.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first tailored shirt I remember.
So if that was it from Colin Cowherd, I wanted something like, I like to get under the skin of some of these guys, but no one really cares anymore.
Honestly, though, the suit thing, and I don't want to make it awkward here because now I regret using the F-bomb. We'll leave that out.
No, you can. I'm just.
No, I don't want to do it around you. I don't want to do it around you.
That's fine. That's not,
I'm glad you told me
that. I have this funny joke where one of my writer friends, and my favorite people in the world are writers. You're a writer. I'm a writer. It's fun writing, creating. And my friends from the old show, Alex Sulkin, by the way.
I was DMing with him yesterday.
And I apologize for not mentioning your name earlier, Alec. He did the movie Ted 2. Very nice house. He has a very nice house.
Because of the movie? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and I want to tell him, but I didn't tell him. I want to say, yeah, you have a nice house. You should see the guy who wrote Police Academy. Holy buckets. Anyways. But, and Julius Sharp and Mike Gibbons and these guys, they're great. Wait, what were you talking about? I had a point on my writer friends.
Well, the part that's always, like when I was talking to a couple of people, I was like, yeah, I'm getting Kilborn on. And then I didn't want to be repetitive like everybody else, I mean, some of this is like, hey, tell me about the ESPN and then the transition. But I already kind of knew that, and hearing about you that you were over the SportsCenter thing. I knew the late deal was what you wanted, and I've also heard why you said like, look, I'm good. Like it became political, it became observational. I think people are obsessed with you being a guy that's on air, was so great at it, and then moving on. That I feel like you've been asked that question before, but then people are always like, well, how can he just do this and never work? That's what's weird, and it feels a little personal. You mean
satisfied wise, or satisfaction, or monetarily?
Monetarily, everything. Yeah, and I'm like, I feel uncomfortable even, but it seems to always be like the number one thing. Like he just is done and doesn't have to work anymore.
I like conclusions. I knew when I left, I set the bar low. I called it early retirement because I knew I only really wanted to do one thing, and it was something scripted with my sensibility. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There are different characters in the white collar world that I could play in my sleep. One of them, I'm going to give you an exclusive. I would love to play. Remember Shatner on Boston Legal? You have a little paunch. You wear too much cologne. I want people to tune in and say, "Oh, did he let himself go?" But I'm not aging.
Yeah,
I've tried.
Look great.
Come on. I mean, it is. The genetics, I don't know what it is, but So and then financially, California real estate is very good. I don't think I have an extravagant lifestyle, but I don't.
It seems extravagant on Instagram.
Well, you can do it the right way. You can live the right way. If you have good taste, you can listen to Miles Davis. You can have I do like pre-war architecture. So I've had a 1927 house. Now
Which war?
The World War 1940.
Okay.
Pre-war, they built in the 20s and 30s. These are the homes that I like. And I had one in the hills, 1929, and then I have one now that's 1923. And I have a little place in the desert, and it's enjoyable. And
you're a big desert guy.
It's as my brother likes to say, your blood pressure plummets. Not that my blood pressure is high in town. I just thought of something funny, but
is this where you want to get in your second Bill Simmons joke?
No. Oh, Bill Simmons joke. No, I was going to say, congratulations to Bill. And again, no one really understands what the Spotify deal is. It sounds great, but he's gifted. He churns out a lot of content. He has what we call a motor.
Prolific.
And he has a motor that only one other person in this town has. And that's Harvey Levin from TMZ. I'm just kidding. That was my joke. I will say that 12 years ago, this joke doesn't hold up necessarily. One of my friends, Julius Sharp, or Alec, one of these guys, Seth MacFarlane had just signed a $100 million deal. The one 12 years ago. I think he signed a new one too. And one of the guys says, "Hey, Seth just signed a deal." I said, $100 million? That's Joe Francis money. And for those of you who don't know Joe Francis, it's Girls Gone Wild guy. Okay?
Oh, it's the best. You're right. It's such an incredible. And with you, I think there's this part where everybody's like, is this a bit?
Well,
is this whole thing a bit?
Here's the thing. I don't like talking about, if I do something, I'll do something and I'll call you, I'll DM you, I'll email you, I'll let you know I'm doing something. But why talk about it if you're not going to do anything? And I'm not pushing it. I'm going to enjoy life no matter what. As soon as I did the late night show, that was it. That was my Super Bowl. And I'm glad I don't have to keep doing it. Now, if I write a book, I'll tell you things there. There's this great quote from a documentary on John Wooden and UCLA on HBO. He left Purdue, he left Indiana with 3 things his dad told him. Read deeply from good books. Don't complain, and make each day your masterpiece. So I don't like to complain. So there were flaws. Like, I'll tell you something, The Daily Show. I get there for the launch. I'm not hired first. In late night, we all know that the host has a major influence, if not total.
And should,
a major influence on the content and the staff. So they approached it in a different way. It was flawed. I smiled and put up with it, scored on the air, and got out of there because I didn't like the format. I'm not doing a 4-minute interview with Clint Eastwood. I'm not doing a 4-minute interview with Gisele Bündchen. That's wrong. That's not American. So, plus I'm not doing a political show. You know what I'm saying?
And everybody is political right now. I have a political joke for you, though, if you were to come back.
Okay.
If Trump were a basketball player, he'd be the Morris twins because there's 2 of them.
You mean he's obese? No.
I'm working on it.
Okay.
No, I didn't even, I don't know what it wasn't an obese joke. Yeah.
Oh.
All right. That one didn't work.
I did like, I read something you said yesterday. It was a quote about Kyrie, which I thought was funny.
Oh, if I were homeless and
you
said you can stay with me, I'd be like, I'm good. I'll stay out here.
Yeah, I like that.
People thought that was a little harsh. But it wasn't a commentary on the homelessness crisis at all. It was just, I'm not a huge Kyrie guy.
Is it because he's a flake or something like that?
And I just, honestly, I think the Celtics have gone out of their way to not share a bunch of information so they don't seem like they're anti-player.
Right.
I think teams are so worried about how they're perceived around the league, and Boston and the city and the history and everything has it worse than a lot of cities. And I think they basically, as an organization, were like, hey, let's not start sharing a bunch of stories that make Kyrie look bad.
Right.
So that we don't look like we're doing this thing where we're trying to, ruin a guy after he left us.
One of the joys of being an NBA fan is you get to, it's not life and death. You can be opinionated about players and just like or dislike. Like, I didn't like Adrian Dantley's game, but you know what but my favorite category is field goal percentage. Do you know what his lifetime field goal percentage was?
High 50s?
54. I mean, that's amazing.
That's amazing. Because those guys are taking long twos.
But I didn't like his game.
Right.
You know whose game I liked, who shot 48% for? Mark Aguirre.
Yeah. They were traded for each other. Yes,
they were. And he had a soft touch, and I liked him at DePaul.
But he also was a tougher guy than Dantley. Like Aguirre.
I don't know what he was. I know obviously Isaiah liked him more, but
what's your favorite?
I can talk NBA for a long time.
I want to do some NBA. How about you do this?
Yeah.
Why don't you host for a little bit and do some NBA stuff?
Let me just ask you something.
Sure.
Where you're from, and did you grow up with the team, and what was that team?
Okay, I was born in Hartford, Connecticut. That's why Bristol, I didn't have as hard of a time with it.
Okay.
And then I moved out to Martha's Vineyard. So I was basically a Boston fan across the board, but I had this weird thing where the first time I became basketball aware was 82-83, and that was that amazing Sixers team. And it was Dr. J and Moses Malone.
So you weren't following it that much in the 70s?
Well, I was 4 up until...
Well, we look close to the same age, but we're not.
We're not.
Okay,
we're not.
I was joking. I was just kidding.
You look so good, I wasn't even insulted, Craig.
Yeah. And I almost wore my tight T-shirt too to show off my guns, but I did.
I had a different outfit.
I opted not.
I had a different outfit on.
I always think it's funny because I didn't know you were built until I saw a picture of you on Instagram. And it's like, have you ever seen like Ryan Reynolds has a 6-pack and then Hank Azaria? It's just
but those guys are all smaller than me.
Yeah,
I'm not impressed by their 6-pack. If I want to get down to 180, fine.
I think it's funny. I mean, if I really wanted to spend that much time in the gym,
right? And instead, like, if you were to do that and you're picking out sconces, instead.
By the way,
you tell me whose time is spent better.
By the way, we're going to talk NBA. You never have paused a podcast, have you? There's no reason to pause.
We could.
But here's my thing. I want to talk NBA. I was just reminded of something where you can help and weigh in on a story that's good, but it has to do with weightlifting.
Okay. All right.
And the other thing I want to say as I look over at Kyle is people misuse the term name drop all the time. Like sometimes you give it context.
Yeah, if I have a good story and a famous person is at it, it's not a name drop.
Right, you're giving it context.
I agree with thank you.
And the one guy who can name drop is a former late night host. So this involves Jerry Seinfeld, who I'm a big fan of.
Friends?
But, no, I don't know. I've met him a couple times. But if I'm in the wrong, I want you to tell me. This is about the category is weight room etiquette. I played basketball at Montana State. Led the Big Sky in turnovers, could shoot and pass, blah, blah, blah. And Rocky Gullickson was the strength coach for the football team and the basketball team. And even though I'm an ectomorph, okay, my brother's a mesomorph. You know these body types or not? There's the.
I can't wait to read more about it.
The endomorph is the chubby guy. I think the ectomorph is the skinny guy where nothing really happens when
Sinewy?
Well,
sinewy seems probably a little too
the mesomorph is perfect because, and you should look these up in case I get it mixed up, but my brother was a mesomorph, so if he did curls, his biceps would bulge, and if I do curls, I just get tired, nothing happens. So I'm slender, that Tom Chambers kind of way.
Yeah, but you age better that way. Yeah, I bet you whatever whatever it was again. So I've been lifting weights, even though it does not look that way, my entire life. We had the Charles Atlas book and Kick Sand in Your Face, and we did a lot of. Are you still using that book? Could that be an issue?
I just hike and walk, but I used to go to the weight room, and I was well versed in the weight room, even though I did squats and Rocky Gullickson at Montana State said, "Wow, you do your stuff, you do your workouts, you know what you're doing." And I remember what I could bench with, all that kind of stuff.
Well, feel free to share a number. We love that.
I think it was 145. Or was it 240? I don't remember.
245 plates is 135.
I don't remember what it was now.
But if you threw on a couple fives.
No, I don't remember what it was now. Would it have been 240 or 140? That's a big difference.
It is.
I can't remember what.
140 seems a little, but you're a long arm guy.
Is that low?
Yeah, it's very low.
Because then it's not. Then it wasn't that. What would it have been?
Probably. Well.
I would arch my back.
Were you strong?
I had huge pectorals.
I don't understand why there's so much presence.
But let me get to the story.
I'm going to say let's put a 200 on it. But it's a lot of the weight.
It was two. I think I did
225 is the 4 plates.
I think I did 225. I thought I did 240, but
we can go across the street to the Equinox.
If I arched my back, which you're not supposed to do.
Well, they do it a lot now, though. You'd be surprised.
So it was over. I thought it was 240, but I could be wrong.
Maybe it was 240.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it down in the books as 240. I'm going to add to your Wikipedia right now. Bench press 240 at Montana State.
All right. I have to ask my brother. He'll tell me. But Rocky would work out. Rocky was buff. Rocky Gullickson. And then you do sets, and then you have a 30-second wait before the next set. And Rocky, he would allow me. He would come over and talk to me, maybe to relax during his 30 seconds. He liked me. He would talk to me. He loved my scoop passes off the dribble. He called me Scoop because I would do these Pistol Pete passes off the dribble. And then he'd go back into his workout. So the fact that he did that between sets, I wasn't interrupting him. So I knew I had 30 seconds. And he was not bothered by that. Is that sacrilege to walk up to someone during their set between sets and ask them a quick question and make a quick comment?
I think that relationship for player, athletic guy, your trainer, not a huge deal. It's really on the other person. Like at the gym that I'm at, I'll be asked a lot of sports questions like, hey, what do you think of the Lakers or whatever? And I'll have kind of like an inner clock. And then once I feel like the person's interfering with what I'm trying to do, I just kind of go like, I'm back to work.
Yeah, I would never in a million years when someone is lifting, you would never interrupt someone while they're doing a set. So fast forward years ago, I'm in New York. I'm doing the Daily Show. I'm at Reebok Health Center. Seinfeld is there. We chatted once in a while about the finals. It was the Jazz and the Bulls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why didn't they foul him? Why did they let Pippen dribble out the clock? What's going on here? He would. And so
Was that your Seinfeld?
Yeah, I don't do Seinfeld. I do James Mason. I do Christian Bale and Ford versus Ferrari. And I'm just kidding. Oh man, Ferrari, right? Oh man, Ferrari.
It's so good.
So
do more of it.
So I had just gotten the job, the CBS job, Daily Show, and Seinfeld is working out with a trainer, and he's standing and doing something in the corner. And I waited for his set to be finished, and I walked over to him. I said, "Hi." He
knew you were.
Yeah, he had already chatted
right.
for a few months. Yeah, it was fun. I said hi. He goes, "Congratulations." He had heard. He goes, "Congratulations on the new gig. Make sure you take Dance, Dance, Dance with you." That's what he said. And that was it. I just wanted to say hi. I was happy that I got the gig. I just wanted to shake the man's hand, who's fairly brilliant in what he does.
Yeah, things were pretty good for him.
And then a day later, I'm on those curl machines. I'm sculpting, and he walks over to me during my set.
While you're mid curl.
Yes.
I think he can get away with it.
No, I think he did it to say, "You interrupted my workout. I'm going to interrupt yours." And I wanted to say, I don't think growing up in Jersey, even though I'm a skinny kid, you didn't spend any time. I know weight room etiquette. So I just shook him off. I said, I just nodded and kept sculpting.
I wish we could have captured
the
dismissiveness of the nod, by the way.
Because now the point is, I will gladly apologize if I was wrong. I just want people to know where I'm coming from. If Rocky Gullickson allows me between sets to say hi, I can do that with Mr. Seinfeld.
This is we're talking a 20+ year beef here. And I don't know that
it's not a beef. It's more of I'll admit my mistake. I'll admit my mistake.
So this whole time
I was somewhat excited that I got in the CBS gig. Somewhat.
Okay. We have more with Craig here, including one of my favorite stories that he's told me, the Kevin Costner story, and also Jason Bateman. So good stuff there. Today's podcast is sponsored by ADT Commercial for Business. ADT Commercial serves businesses ranging from mid-size organizations to large-scale enterprises. Think of them as a special team who has one focus: your business security. They provide a comprehensive line of security, fire, life safety, and risk management solutions, professional-grade systems for commercial-grade businesses. With ADT Commercial, every day is game day. Fortune 1000 companies rely on ADT Commercial for highly complex, scalable, integrated solutions that help solve their unique business challenges. If you're looking for a partner to upgrade or take over the monitoring and service of your current system, ADT Commercial can help to painlessly install and maintain large-scale and multi-site businesses. They make it easy to switch providers. Their onboarding is predictable, dependable, and painless. Schedule a no-obligation security review with ADT Commercial for Business. No pain. That's good in sports and good in business security. Visit ADT.com/game day to learn more. That's ADT.com/game day. Was there ever there has to have been, because I've had a few of them, but you become numb to it when you're in the circles that we run with. Was there the first, wow, this is like a pretty crazy moment, a night out on the town from either a guest, someone famous? Because I feel like, there was a younger version of you that.
Well, you mean,
give me your best famous guy story.
What are you talking about? You're talking about someone coming up to me.
You had somebody on the show. You kept in touch. You met out with them.
I'm not sure where you're going. I have a lot of good stories. I don't know what you're referring to.
What's your favorite story about yourself?
I'll give you one that's I just think funny.
Okay.
That comes to mind. So this is not what you're asking for, but you'll like it. It's a slim. Okay.
I trust you.
We had a very small writing staff at the CBS show. We had 7 writers. With me, it was 8. But they were talented. And there was a guy, he'll remain nameless just to protect him. And he had the rare good-looking writer. No, I'm kidding. He did well with the ladies, I think is what I was told. And he was dating a blonde who had gone out with I keep wanting to say Kevin. No Way Out, Bull Durham.
Kevin Costner?
Kevin Costner.
Right.
Sorry.
I thought you were going to say maybe Kevin Brown.
No.
Yankees.
I'm sorry.
I didn't know.
I keep staring at Kyle. So So the guy didn't like that she had dated Kevin Costner, the writer. So I was getting
prior to him dating her.
Yes, that's
wow.
my understanding.
He was a big resume guy. Previous job.
That's my understanding. It's just because
I've been called that I've been guilty of.
So
that
I've been getting I get all these Kevin Costner jokes about how his movies are losing money and all this kind of stuff. All this Waterworld jokes, all this stuff. And I'm not necessarily using them because they're forced. And
was he doing this out of spite?
I don't know. I don't care. I thought it was funny.
Dude, this is hilarious.
So then lo and behold, it was Kevin Costner's birthday, and we would do celebrity jokes in the monologue. So I used his joke that day, and it was, "Hey, celebrity, happy birthday to Kevin Costner. He turns 46 today." And his friends threw him a surprise birthday party, and somehow that lost $10 million. So then, fast forward.
This guy's unbelievable.
Fast forward.
Yeah.
An hour later, I'm at the Polo Lounge having dinner and drinks. Kevin Costner walks by. I've met him before. He's never done the show. And he says, now the show has not aired because it's going to air at 12:30. He hasn't seen the show yet tonight. So he comes by and he says, "Hey, Craig." And I didn't know that we were trying to get him on the show. He goes, "I promise I'll do your show. Your booker keeps calling. I'll promise you." I said, "No problem." And that was that. And I'm thinking, let's hope he doesn't watch the show tonight. But
did you ever get him on?
No, we never did get him on. I did a lot of celebrity jokes, and it offended a lot of. He could care less, by the way. He's one of those guys that could care less.
That's good to hear.
Some of the guys are more sensitive than others.
Do you have one that you can share where a guy really was upset with you and maybe to this day?
Yeah, I'm not going to, I don't think I'll share it except to say there are certain guys, well, it could be cathartic, but I'll just say this. He's very talented and I'm a fan of his, and that's Jason Bateman. And
he's on fire. Like, think how long his career's going.
But I've always thought he was talented, but I made the mistake of doing a joke and I didn't know. And it's funny because I was doing the Daily Show, and I was out here at the Sunset Marquis for some promotion, but I was staying at the Sunset Marquis, which is, you probably don't know, it's the Rock and Roll Hotel, and it's a very cool hotel. So this is in the 90s. And Jason Bateman, who's wearing leather pants,
hot
leather, like purple leather pants, comes up and says, "Kilborn, you're the man. I love you. This is what I'm doing the Daily Show." And that was fun. And then fast forward, I do the Late Late Show on CBS. Jeffrey Tambor does the show for Arrested Development. Portia de Rossi does the show and says,
plays Michael's sister.
"I'm glad I'm doing the show. You know, Jason told me not to do the show." I said, "Why?" He goes, "You did a joke about him." I go, "Was it about his leather pants?" Because that's my only memory. And she said, No, you did something on your first show. So I go, "Oh, I'm sorry." So I looked back, and in fact, I did a joke, which I regret, and I know why I did it. We had such a small writing staff, and this writer pitched it. I was doing these jokes where I said, first show, I said, "We have a commitment. We're going to get the big names. We're going to get the Steve Guttenbergs." Like, I was doing these jokes, and somebody pitched Jason Bateman, and it made the writers laugh. So I used it, and I shouldn't have. Do you see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So I apologize, but I think he's incredibly talented, and I'm a fan. And you know, I'll tell you something else. I obviously don't care. I'll be nice. I mean, if I saw him, I would apologize and tell him, but I can still be a fan without, caring what they think. I don't do this.
That would always be kind of like one of my things is doing the show with Scott, and you would be in the presence of this famous person and they would come by. But I was always a very kind of want to get through the BS. And if there was something topical or maybe there was something that needed to be asked, like, you have to ask the question that needs to be asked all the time. And I would do some of that stuff, and I think it would make others around me uncomfortable. But my thing was like, hey, there's a really good chance if I hadn't asked that, I wasn't going to summer with the guy. Like, we weren't going to become friends if I did the nice version of the interview where it was comfortable, because like that guy looks at me a certain way, and it's rare that just because you interview people for a living, and now your location stuff, like you've done both coasts. You clearly were always trying to come back to California and do all that kind of stuff.
I grew up in the Midwest. We do fantasize about the Go West, young man, the West Coast.
Yeah, I did it my whole life.
And it's not just LA, it's the entire state. I lived in San Francisco, Carmel by the Sea, when I worked in local TV in Salinas, Monterey, Santa Cruz, the 110 market.
I got to do a to-do list of the coast and just do that drive when I have a little spare time, because you can just vacation in your own backyard. Is what the T-shirt says out here. Was that a
good story? The
Costner and Bateman ones I love.
Okay, the Costner one was pretty good.
I'm always accused of liking you so much.
I'm not getting that yet. I thought there'd be more fawning. I did.
You just are somebody my entire life. You could do the least and it would make me laugh. Like one of my favorite lines that you had was, I don't even know if you remember this, but it was a lead into like a White Sox highlight. So you're probably not going to remember it. And you go, we all remember our first glove, Dad broke it in for you. You put a couple baseballs in it at night and wrap it. Try to break it in. Or maybe it was that guy that hung out at the park that wasn't married.
I was,
and that's like, you couldn't even do that today.
I was there was a prominent manager in Hollywood, Jimmy Miller, who used to talk about those jokes that you're alluding to. I'm not going to say the word. And yes, I the old guy that's down at the park who would linger.
And I was at home watching that. And I'm, college age at that point, and I'm dying because I go, how?
Because Scott Ackerson didn't do his job. I'm like, that's why.
How did he write that lead into a White Sox highlight? And that's what I think you can look back on it and go, well, that's who this guy was. This is who he was going to be.
I thought I was going to sneeze. Oh, this is exciting. Wow, this has been a long hour and a half.
It's not even an hour.
So back to the NBA, you like Chris Paul, and I read that yesterday, and I have a theory on Chris Paul. I thought Isaiah Thomas from the Pistons was one of the greatest players of all time, underrated.
He is underrated historically.
Yeah, better than John Stockton, in my opinion. But I liked him because he was clutch, and obviously his reputation. Jordan didn't like him, blah blah blah. But there was a special on when the year that Iverson was the MVP, they had this special on ABC and a roundtable saying, is Iverson the greatest little man of all time? And I was like, it's Isaiah Thomas. And I think they were saying 6 feet and under. I'm not sure what they meant by little man.
Which is funny because I don't know any basketball player that's around 5'10" that hasn't rounded up to 6 feet.
Yes. And thank God that panel that day said it's Isaiah Thomas, the greatest little man. I mean, he could pass, he could shoot, he was clutch, he was amazing. And now Chris Paul, to me, is tough as nails. He's a very good defender. He does shoot a very high field goal percentage.
For a guard for today's world?
Yeah. And he can pass. And I just think, so obviously, I'm not going to compare the two, but I am. I don't care for James Harden's game. I like Chris Paul he's a better basketball player. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. He's better. I'm sure James Harden is too, but James Harden's
going to make the Hall of Fame.
I know that, but he bores me.
So you haven't listened to Bill and I talk about the Rockets at all?
Never.
We are probably two of the most despised people in Houston because we've already done this segment. I came out last summer.
What is it?
I just came out last summer. I said, I hope they never win a thing. I can't stand watching you.
Yeah, it's just he dribbles. It's just like, what's going on here?
So who are your favorites today? Like, who do you like? What kind of questions do you go, Craig? Like if you were going to interview a follow-up and it was just a sports interview of you doing an interview with yourself again, it was all sports questions. What questions would you ask yourself?
What a creative brain this Manhattan Beach tequila drinker has. I'm just guessing tequila.
Belvedere.
Oh. Yeah. Be yourself, man. Don't follow me. You ever have Chopin? You ever have Chopin?
No, but I can get you a Kilborn bottle that says it on the Belvedere bottle.
Oh, really?
If you want.
You have? Is that a sponsor?
Yeah, we can get you. We can get hooked up with the people at Belvedere.
Okay.
I think the night I sent you my shirts off pic, that was a night of we had a couple Belvederes. I just wanted you to know.
I was saying to my wife, "What do you think of this guy? What do you want me to do? How do you want me to handle this?" But anyways, so let's see. Who do I like? I'll tell you the good thing is before the Timberwolves came into existence, for 20 years, I was an NBA fan. So my first favorite player, we didn't have a team. My first favorite player was Walt Clyde Frazier. My dad was a Knicks fan. And then I discovered Dr. J. Julius Erving. Everybody thinks Larry Bird is my favorite player. It was Dr.
That seems racist.
It was Dr. J. Julius Erving. And do you know Dr. J's middle name? You shouldn't. Julius Winfield Erving II. His wife, of course, was turquoise. These are the kind of things I memorized.
Julius Wingfield? Winfield, like David Winfield.
William Felton Russell. Wilt Norman Chamberlain. All these guys. So you asked me who I like now. If I had my choice, this is kind of weird because I didn't like the Kobe Shaq Lakers. I thought Sacramento was a better team. I like the way they played. I like their offense.
That Sacramento team is one of the great, like, fun teams
because they
is only remembered by like hardcore people that were in.
Yeah, because if people say, they would shoot these 3-pointers, but in their half-court offense, when you can get a layup on those Pete Carroll backdoor cuts, I love that. So they would mix in backdoor cuts, and so while I didn't care for the Shaq Kobe Lakers, I do begrudgingly admit that the Lakers, Showtime Lakers with Magic, is probably the greatest team of all time. I'd like to say the Bird Celtics, but I'll just say, being objective, I tend to root for the underdogs. I rooted against the Bulls in the 90s. But I like LeBron a lot. I have a little issue with his shot. But I think
what is this about LeBron's shot that's bothering you? Because I would say in the beginning of his career, but that's one of the great improvements.
Well, it's not. He's a playmaker. I'm not a fan of volume shooters, the Iversons of the world, and he's not. He's a playmaker, and he is clutch. People don't think he is. He misses some free throws, but as far as his shot, I actually think he should tuck his elbow a little more and. But some guys are like so confident in their jump shots, like Sam Cassell, like just some of these ball players like Mark Price and downtown Freddie Brown, feathery shots. But I do like LeBron. One of the things I think is interesting is these other guys, as they do all the dancing, he'll just drive and people will bounce off of him. He's so strong.
I mean, some of these drives still, when we're talking this far into his career.
He's in the conversation, in my opinion, with Jordan as the greatest, whoever the greatest. I used to do a joke years ago that if I'm drinking, I'll say Tim Duncan's the greatest player of all time because I love Duncan. I loved his game. But
when you're sober, you don't like his game as much?
No, I do. I don't think he's an amazing player.
He is. He's never mentioned with any of those other guys.
I know. That's the thing.
And it's like, well, wait a minute, what's the constant there for 20 years?
Because he doesn't.
Right?
Because in the last 2 minutes or the last 10 seconds, he doesn't go between his legs and do the gyrations and all this kind of stuff. People are seduced by some of this.
Yeah, we love the wing guys in the conversation.
And but the one other thing about LeBron is in that series against Golden State, the first time Golden State won with Steph, Kyrie was out and Kevin Love was out. And it was a 6-game series. And it's the first time I've ever heard they're going to give the MVP to the losing team to LeBron. He dominated so much. So I think he's great. And I think I want him to win another championship.
Have you gone to a Lakers game?
He plays for the Lakers. Therefore,
have you been to a Lakers game in a while?
Yeah, I went. I went this year when they played the Timberwolves because people give me tickets to the Timberwolves. They can't give them away to anybody else. Apparently,
was it you and Lizzo? That was Lizzo was there, right?
That's correct.
Yeah,
straight across from that.
Do you know her at all, or
no?
That was an interesting night for Lizzo.
Yeah,
I imagine you were wearing pants.
Yeah, I was.
You had slacks.
Yeah, that was fun.
Are you checking the time?
No.
Did you just fade on me?
No. I was thinking.
Don't you hate it when you look at your phone and then somebody's like, "Hey," and we're like, "No, we all look at our phone." I do it to Bill all the time. He's like, "Oh, you're checking your phone now."
What was I going to say about? Who do I like? There's a guy that I love. It's very difficult to get players for the Timberwolves, up there, talented players. So I like the D'Angelo Russell trade, even if Towns and D'Angelo Russell, it's.
Well, they're buddies. That's their thing.
I understand.
So now Towns is happier.
You don't understand. Larry Bird said, I can't win a championship in the Pacers. I can't get these guys to stay. I can't get these guys up here. It's difficult. And I'm just glad that we have Karl Towns. He's talented. He's flawed. He's going to keep working on his game. We're going to keep trying. What's frustrating is, is Jarrett Culver going to learn how to shoot? Sixth pick. You don't get the sixth pick every year.
No.
Klay Thompson was the 11th pick, but look, now we're going to get some picks this year, and this is not a good draft. So it's very, very difficult.
And you traded some picks in this deal too.
Yes. So, but I thought of something, and I bounce it off you. You know how you need a couple, 2 or 3 superstars?
Sure.
Tell me about the Denver Nuggets. Maybe that's a way to go. Do they have 2 or 3 superstars?
The way Jokic and Murray have been playing the last month or so, it's off the charts. But we did a little bit of a breakdown. I've been thought as an anti-Denver guy, and it's a long-standing theory that I have in sports. New is really hard to accept. New, it's very hard for us before you've done it to go, hey, this team that's never done it before,
right.
I'm banking on you to do this and break through. Now, eventually, like somebody new breaks through and does it, but maybe it's harder for me. Maybe other people are better at it. But Denver, with those 2 players, it's great. But then I see like a handful of other guys in their top 8 minutes, and I just don't love it.
Right.
I don't. And
well, the Wolves just took 2 bench players, Juancho Hernan Gomez.
What a name.
And,
I always kind of liked him
Beasley.
a little bit.
Yeah. It's now judgment time because they're both restricted free agents. We can sign them or not sign them. I say we, I'm kidding. It's the Timberwolves organization.
Yeah, but I can't imagine they wouldn't reach out.
What's that?
I can't imagine they wouldn't reach out just to get your thoughts.
Oh. There's some truth to that back in the day, but
what do you think of this?
A friend of mine.
Hassel, do we extend him, Craig?
Yes. That did happen years ago, actually. But anyways, so maybe the Wolves can get some other ball players in there, but as far as winning a championship, I think Phil Jackson said our society is obsessed with winning. And let me tell you, one of my absolute favorite players in the NBA for a number of years, I don't believe he'll ever win a championship, but he's still, I love him. It's Dame time. Damian Lillard.
Yeah.
That guy is so much fun to watch. I love the way he pulls up. I love how smooth he is.
Are you at home just watching the pack? Like, do you have the NBA package?
I have the NBA package, and let me just say something. This is dramatic. I have never in my life paid for an NBA ticket to go to a game. I've gone to many, many, many games. I get tickets. I would never pay for one either. I don't need to because I like watching at home. I don't care what the price is on the NBA League Pass, I'll pay it. So there's a little bit of a contradiction. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like
we do get a little spoiled.
It's too much fun to watch the NBA League Pass. Now, that being said, I was actually going to ask you, I've watched way too much basketball in my life. Years ago, my friend wanted to go out as a Saturday night. I said, I got to watch the Wolves. And he says, you're the only one that cares about this game. And it was during the Randy Foye, Al Jefferson years. They'd be in every game in the fourth quarter and then lose. And
a lot of post-ups. That was 20 post-ups a game. I was just looking up Al's numbers the other day.
And
I bet you liked Al Jefferson a lot.
I liked Randy Foye a little bit. But, if they hadn't, they drafted
Foye instead of Brandon Roy.
They drafted Brandon Roy and then they traded him. Yeah. If they kept Brandon Roy, KG would have stayed. They would have made the playoffs probably. KG would have never gotten traded to Boston and won a championship.
Yeah, but
it all worked out.
Roy's knee wasn't going to. KG would have been.
It all worked out. But do you have to watch a lot of games?
I do. I watch nonstop. I have a lot of ex-girlfriends.
I can't.
Tell me that.
I watch a lot of Turner Classic movies. I watched Papillon last night with Steve McQueen. I'd never seen it.
You had never seen it?
I've never
just
seen
watched
Papillon.
it the first time like 2 years ago.
Okay,
that's a long.
That's 2.5 hours.
Long movie, and I don't know. Talk about persistence.
Yeah.
I don't want spoiler alert. I know it came out 40 years ago, but Papillon was a big deal when it came out in the theaters.
I was telling your friend.
The Silent L's, I believe.
I'm going to name a few movies. I was telling a friend the other day, and he goes, "You just watched this is from the 70s with Robert Redford, 3 Days of the Condor. You ever seen it?"
I haven't seen that.
Oh, it's a good movie. Here's one that's.
Hey, mark that, Kyle, so I don't.
Here's one that we've all seen, and I think it's one of those. The IMDb has these ratings, and everything over. All the Hitchcock movies are over 8, and then if it's 7 or above, it's good. But this is one that's 6.8, which should be a 7.1. The Firm. Tom Cruise, Gene Hackman. You ever seen it?
Multiple times. Love The Firm.
It's great, right?
It is great.
Yeah.
It's just a well-executed deal. I'd read the book.
Right.
But the little trick at the end to have Cruise go in, and whenever I'm watching a movie, as you understand, it's just two writers hanging out.
Right.
You're going, okay, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
What are they just going to kill everybody? You're going to do that ending? Yeah. Okay. Oh, all right. We get a little clever here. And Cruise is going to visit the mafia guys, and then he pulls the old tax switcheroo on him. And you're like, you know what? I like that. I was watching Parasite the other night, and I go, okay, what are we going to do here? What are we going to do?
So I have the DVD. I'm going to watch it at the screen.
Parasite?
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Oh, I want to say anything.
Okay,
great, perfect.
I watch a lot of old film noir movies.
It seems very on brand for you, so this is not a surprise.
Dark Passage, Lauren Bacall, Humphrey Bogart, but also some of the Chinatown is considered a film noir, Sunset Boulevard, etc. Back to the NBA. What would you like to know? Anything you want to know?
Your game.
Giannis bores me. He's a great player.
Giannis bores you?
Yeah, he's a skinny guy. He stretches and dunks. You know,
that seems a little dismissive.
I know. I'm just. There are things that I you know.
I love how you say you were always rooting for the underdog, yet we're talking about charcuterie and Prada loafers. That doesn't seem like an underdog kind of guy.
As Walt Whitman said, do I contradict myself? Yes, I'm complex. But no, I the finer things in life, but I do like, I like Josh Okogie. He plays with heart. That guy is so, you know, he's an inconsistent shooter, but I like guys that play. Corey Brewer played with a lot of heart.
Yeah, Corey Brewer was he ended up kind of bouncing around a little bit, but he always felt like a guy that you'd want on your team. What?
He made a play that I've never seen anyone make. And he was in the corner and the ball was going out of bounds and he jumped and threw it off the guy, tried to throw it off the guy, but the guy caught it inbounds. And Corey fell in the front row. It's at the end line. Jumped back in to get a jump ball because the guy had the ball. Like, boom, 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 boom. It's just like...
Yeah, just different stuff that other guys aren't thinking
if
about.
You saw
like Marcus Smart.
If you saw me at a Montana State practice, that was not me. I'm kidding.
This would be a good exercise. Which player were you most like when you were at Montana State?
I don't know, because I was a little like Pistol Pete, where I was stylish, and I could rebound, and I could pass. I mean, I made passes that I joke that
some people didn't see.
That only a few guys. Maybe Jason Kidd at Cal could make, in those kind, just difficult passes.
Yeah, I'd heard that. So if you were at ESPN, what kind of, even though it was not necessarily a game, what kind of player were you? Maybe a Steven Jackson, where you signed the contract, I want out of here, maybe difficult?
You mean, what do you mean by that?
I was trying to think of you as an employee, NBA player analogy at your different stops. So not just your game, but like what kind of guy were you in the locker room?
When I was at ESPN, I didn't say much. I remember one of the producers came out of a meeting and said, "You know what? You never complain. You never complain, and you just do your job," which I thought was nice, because I didn't. I wasn't going to resign. I was just going to.
That's pretty admirable, because I know that I think part of the reason I left the show was like, hey, all these things that you don't like. Are you just going to do this for 4 more years and complain about it?
I'm not a big complainer. It's like
I complain too much.
When I did CBS, there was an outside layer, Letterman's production company, but they can do whatever they want because they own the show. So they're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm allowed to leave. There it is. I don't, complaining doesn't do it. It's like, do whatever you want. I'm ecstatic over here.
That's a really hard thing to do, and it's very impressive. Seriously, to just be like, I'm not going to complain.
There was a guy I ran into, an acquaintance, not a friend.
Okay.
I say that because someone might say, well, he's your friend. He's just, no, I barely knew the guy. And it was after I had left the late night show. And he goes, hey, that's pretty amazing what you did. I said, yeah, I guess a lot of people wouldn't do that. He goes, no one else would do it, Craig. I took it as a compliment. And
you should. And I'm going to, because I know I could do this all day. And I have, just in honor of
How long has it been? And when does Kyle get to say something?
We're just over an hour. We'll let Kyle ask, because I was going to do 5 questions with you at the end. Is that okay?
Every morning DJ has done it. No, I'm just kidding.
By the way, when you did LA Today, which was one of the worst interviews I've ever seen.
Oh.
When you were promoting the Kilborn files. And this is where I think it would have to be years of watching you, where it was Steve, I think it was Jillian, and there was somebody else, and they talked over you the entire interview, and it was unbelievable.
Well, it's hard. I think it's hard because you got 3 people and they all are excited.
They were very excited
to touch the natural host.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But so this is where I was trying to explain to one of my friends about you, because they knew I was excited to do this, but I watched this interview as I'm sitting there watching film. I'm going to break Craig down here. They were so annoying. And they were ruining it. There was no conversation. Right. They were talking over you the whole time. And then finally they're like, well, hey, tell us about your show, Craig. And you go, well, I have this sidekick. And and they were like, how is she? What's her deal? And you go, well, I think her job is to talk over me most of the time. And
did I say that?
And it was just superbly delivered. Not one of the hosts even remotely picked up on it. And it was you. And it made me realize, like, this is the level that you're playing at, that you made fun of all three of them to their face for what they were doing to you. And not one of them picked up. And you didn't really even crack that much of a smile.
One of the greatest moments of my life. No, I don't remember that, but that's funny.
I know you didn't remember.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. You should go back and watch it. So let's end on this, unless you want to end on anything you want to do.
I do want to say one. Okay, you're going to play 5, right?
I'm going to do 5.
I wanted to say something about the NBA. So we have to accept the 3-point shot, right? We have to accept that. Popovich doesn't like it.
Looks like it's going to stick around. Yeah.
But I think one of the reasons I don't like it is you're probably a numbers guy, but there is a number. I don't know if it's 34%, but if you shoot 34% from threes and 50 from twos, you'll score more shooting 34%. So as a guy who likes perfection, I'd rather see a team shoot 50%. And if you took away the 3-point line, then guys like Anthony Davis and these guys would completely dominate underneath. I'm not in love with the 3-point shot, but that's life. You know what I'm saying?
I used to think it was a very outdated thing, like, oh, okay, you're one of those when you don't like the 3-point shot. But the 3-point shot, this was not the intent. This was not the intent to completely change everything. It's like a foul right now, the offensive fouls. Like we saw Kyle Lowry taking offensive fouls, and this isn't an anti-Kyle Lowry thing, even though people know that I'm not a huge fan of. I respect his game while also being incredibly annoyed the entire time I watch him. I mean, he's not – Kyle Lowry is the opposite of Craig Kilborn out on the court when we talk about complaining. Like, you wouldn't even fit in today's NBA. They'd be like, why isn't this guy arguing for calls?
I saw them.
But he took a charge. That was not a charge in the way we grew up with a charge. Like, the goal wasn't to run and stop in front of the other guy running.
Right.
And he still was even moving on that one. And that's the stuff where I go, the way the 3-pointer was, it was supposed to be this extra thing that was a little bit exciting.
Yes, exactly.
And
it was supposed to be Louis Dampier shooting them in the ABA, and then it got out of hand. He's turned into a monster.
The math guys.
Yes.
The math guys messed it up. Can I end on just a final thing, and then we'll do 5 questions? Because the other part about that LA Today interview that was hilarious is Steve was like, hey, you're doing 5 questions, your thing there. And you were like, yeah. And then he goes, did you steal it from a French guy? He accused you of stealing. He goes, this French guy, he did 4 questions. Was that?
I didn't know. I don't remember.
It was unbelievable.
I don't know.
He accused you of stealing the segment. In there. But I think the all-encompassing thing, and check out Craig on Instagram, is that, as you said, with the acquaintance who stopped you and said no one else would do it, people always think something's wrong with you when you do the thing nobody else would do, and that has become the fascination with you.
Right.
So it's
I like being, creatively is the number one reason. The late night show obviously isn't set up. Letterman's not setting up to groom his successor, understandably. But I also didn't want to do, like I've said before, that comedy I lost interest in, pop culture comedy. I don't want to do social commentary because I'm very pragmatic. I can fix things. I can fix things, but you don't want to hear my fixes. I'm kidding. But so it was very cathartic. I'm just glad I was able to do it.
But that's, I think, the lesson in all of this is that people would go ahead. You're excited right now.
I'm going to tell you a story. Sitting in I used to live in the Hollywood Hills, beautiful 1920s, 29 Spanish.
I don't doubt it.
And an acquaintance came over, and my acquaintance is moody. He's a moody person. I'm protecting him. And he's a little, do you guys know, I was going to say,
Ryan Gosling.
No, you don't know his name. I can't remember the historical figure anyways. But anyways, Toulouse-Lautrec. He was a short gentleman who not nearly as talented as Toulouse-Lautrec. But I exhale, I was having my coffee, I go, God, I'm so happy. And he said, if you were really happy, you wouldn't have to say it. And I said, I break a lot of rules. And then I said, go fetch me some more coffee. But it's just life. I found it easy, and I'm just glad like right now, there's no stress in my life, just being creative. The only stress is I had a little run-in at the Trader Joe's once with somebody when they, it was very minor. You don't have time for it. You can edit.
I have time.
You can edit this out. And you can edit this out if you want to.
We're going to keep it in. I can tell.
some people go into Trader Joe's and they're just going to look around. They don't have a plan. I think I'm not sure what I'm going to get. Well, I'm in and out. I know what I'm getting. I got my list. Let's go. Now, criticism of me is I do beeline it sometimes. I don't waste time. I round the corner. I'm ready to go to the checkout. And there are two people, gender's not important, two people who have their carts askew. They don't know each other. They're blocking the aisle. There's a small path to get through, very small path, but I might bump them if I go through there. If I say, excuse me, then I know they're going to go, should I move back? Are you going to move back? What's going to happen? Oh, I like your blouse. So I didn't say anything. I lifted my basket because I didn't have a cart and I slid through, trying not to bump him. I don't think I bumped him, but maybe the back of my bumped their arm.
Now we're talking.
Bumped their arm.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel it. And I look back. I may have said, sorry, but get up to the
You're a big guy, by the way.
Get up to, gentle giant. Get up to the checkout. And all of a sudden, a person comes up, but not an angry person, kind of a meek person. So this is a big moment for them. Excuse me, but you just bumped me and just kept walking. And I stopped Ryen Russillo what I was doing. I knew how to handle this moment. And I looked that person in the eyes and I said, I am sorry. Are you okay? She says, I just said she said, yeah, that's not it. It's just that you just kept going. And I said, I'm sorry. I almost said there's an urgent care 2 blocks down, but I didn't do that. I said, I am so sorry. And then I have to wrap this up. Thank you for telling me.
It's a big day.
And she walked away and she just saw leadership. She just saw Churchill. It was, and I went home and told my buddy, my neighbor, and I said, the whole inner monologue was, we're going to get through this.
I like that she stood up to you.
Does anyone like that story? Or is it just me? Because my wife will say I'm very obnoxious in that case. But
You've probably just been around
each
other a lot,
We got through it, but
you're not married, right? You call her your wife.
I took the lead and I went right up there, eye contact, and
That's a chapter. That sounds like a chapter or an insert.
I made a mistake and I'm sorry. Yeah. We're going to get through this, aren't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like I made that weird though, but like the wife part.
What's that?
You said you call her your wife, but
it's one syllable. It's more efficient than saying long-term girlfriend.
It is. Okay. We're going to leave that one alone.
Petite waif. I'm not allowed to say petite waif. There's nothing. I'm not allowed to say anything.
I'm going to do 5 questions, but I want you to ask yourself one of the 5.
Okay.
Okay.
But we're not going to start with that.
No, we're not. We're not. Okay. Are we ready? We're going to have a music bed that's going to be produced up.
Okay.
Right. So just pretend the music is live right now. Do you remember how many total points you had at Montana State?
No, but I did score 20 at the Kibbe Dome at Moscow, Idaho. 8 for 9 from the floor, 4 of 4 and 3-pointer. We had the longest 3-pointer in the country, 22 feet. The ACC was 17.9.
The first ACC 3-pointer, if kids want to go back and look it up, it's hysterical.
It was inside the top of the key.
It's inside the
Mark
key.
Price was pulling up. Everybody's like, yeah.
Giannis would have been able to take off.
Yes.
And all right, 184 total points. And I noticed,
you looked at stuff.
Yeah,
up.
I noticed your minutes went down from your sophomore, your 3rd year to your 4th year, or is it? Well, you played 3 years. The minutes went down.
I quit after my junior year to graduate and get out of town.
Okay. Do you want to use this forum to put the Kylie Minogue rumors to bed?
What are the rumors? I don't know the rumors. I just go ahead.
That was me trying to be very open-ended to see if I get some.
No, but I was mocked by some. It's a little. I had a guilty pleasure where "Love at First Sight" or one of her songs was on DirecTV.
It's one of my favorite Instagram posts.
Yeah,
is you just love the song.
Yeah, because I like dance.
And then she's out there as a great edit.
Right.
Star wipe into her.
I like dance music, even though I like.
Don't be afraid of that.
I like Bill. I like jazz, but I like dance music. I think you saw me play a little Holiday Madonna once when I was sipping wine on the Instagram, and but some of the guys were mocking me for I admitted it was a guilty pleasure. You got to see Kylie Minogue dance and.
The song, the kids say slaps, bangs, Kyle.
Yeah.
Knocks, even.
I kind of love the way she plays to the crowd and that chorus just hits.
Yeah. And I think it's a little 8th grade to have your friends at work say, "Oh my God, you like Kylie Minogue." Yeah, I do. I like.
But when she was on the show, I know you're a private man, but I sensed tension.
No.
Okay. Do you want to ask yourself the third question?
I'm going to ask myself the fourth question.
The fourth question. Okay. All right. This was sent to me by one of your writer friends. That if you were asked to do SportsCenter again, do you know who won the 3-point shooting contest this year? I just got nervous.
This year?
Yeah. Do you remember?
Yes, Buddy Hield.
Do you have a good line? Because one of your writers sent me a line he's trying to get you to use about Buddy Hield.
That's just Buddy being Buddy, release, rotation, splash.
This year's 3-point shooting contestant, he won, but he cut his finger, Buddy Hield.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So maybe we'll table that one. We're going to keep working on it.
No. Alec is gifted. I used to say puns are the lowest form, but he's extremely funny, and he can do puns in his sleep.
Just a pun guy. Yeah, but he's not just a pun guy.
No, he's allowed to do it, in my opinion, because he's brilliant in other ways. He was the guy that would come up with really good jokes like in 5 seconds, and then he couldn't beat it. It was the best. He comes up with them immediately.
He's unbelievable. Maybe that could have been a messenger thing.
Does he know that Tom Brady is going to not play for the Patriots? Don't tell him that. He'll be devastated.
Hopefully he won't listen to this.
Okay.
The fourth question is yours.
Craig, are you most proud of being clever or being an incredibly nice human being? Well, I'm happy being an incredibly nice human being with no temper whatsoever. I'm just.
That's a great way to close this out.
Sorry to get so deep on this podcast.
No, that's a good way. All right. True or false, Steve Levy took a swing at you at one of those Christmas parties in Bristol.
That was Robin Roberts.
I could have researched this better.
You did a great job.
Thanks, man. Seriously.
Pleasure being here. Can't wait to, whenever you need me back during the playoffs, let me know.
Done. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. I know I did. That's something I'd want to do for a bunch of years. So check out Kilborn on Instagram. If you like this interview, you will love his Instagram posts. Please rate and review, subscribe to the Russillo Show podcast on the Ringer Network. Talk to you next week. Or Bill and I every Sunday. Don't forget.